Today we have Genevieve Chartrand. She is the liaison officer for Alberta of CADTH. I'm going to have her tell you what CADTH stands for because I couldn't find it actually when I went looking. But CADTH is an independent, not-for-profit organization responsible for providing Canada's healthcare decision makers with objective evidence to help make informed decisions about the optimal use of drugs and medical devices in our healthcare system. Ms. Chartrand will speak for approximately an hour, maybe a little bit less, and then she'll have a little bit of time for questions afterwards. So Genevieve, if you'd like to take over now.
Okay, thank you so much, Linda. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's talk. I'm really happy to be here and very happy that I was asked to attend. A little disclaimer on my end, we have a 3-year-old girl with us who wasn't able to attend day home because she had a slight fever. She's feeling very good, but she may interrupt us all and come and ask me a question or even need to go to the bathroom. And we did do that beforehand, so here's hoping that doesn't happen during the middle of our presentation. Just, I'm sure you guys all know what that's all about right now. So yeah, my name is Genevieve Chartrand. I live in Alberta and I work for CADTH. We are the Canadian Agency for Drugs and Technologies in Health. And we are an evidence agency that helps to inform Alberta's decision makers, Canada's decision makers, with the latest evidence regarding drugs, technologies, devices, evidence-based methodologies of care, and even some differing angles depending on what the jurisdictions are asking of us. So I have some slides that I would like to share with you. And we'll just get into the presentation for today. So today's topic is looking at whether or not we can trust the resources that we typically tend to access to obtain information as it pertains to our health. And in today's day and age, that's never been more important. We're calling the current issue around COVID and other information an info-demic. There's so much information coming at us, we are literally bombarded. And so where do we go to know that what we're listening to is credible? How do we know that some of the information coming our way can be even listened to? And more importantly, because there's so much of it, how do you know as a consumer of information when you need to just throw it away and say, I'm not even going to pass go, I'm not even going to open this link, I'm not even going to allow this to enter my brain because I have better things to do with my very valuable mental real estate. So CADTH, like I said, we're the Canadian Agency for Drugs and Technologies in Health. We were started back in the 90s by the Conference of Deputy Ministers because they wanted to have a Canadian approach to doing health technology assessments. I'm sure most of you have heard of something called an evidence pyramid, where at the very bottom we have opinions or expert opinion. Anybody can have an opinion on something, and that's why that's the bottom level of evidence. To go up the pyramid, the top would be a systematic review or meta-analysis, and now we're calling a health technology assessment the top of the pyramid, which is what CADTH specializes in. So when a decision maker needs to make a decision on something, they will ask CADTH, what does the evidence have to say? And we will do a very robustly designed, rigorous look at that evidence, and we do include the patient's perspective as well as what the experts have to say when we find that evidence. Commonly, people are familiar with CADTH from our Pan-Canadian Oncology Drug Review or the Common Drug Review. And that is just a program and a process in place whereby once Health Canada approves a medication for use and sale in Canada, the pharmacy company then comes to CADTH and says, well, we want you to review the evidence behind our medicine so that you can make a recommendation to the drug plan members in the jurisdictions. And then if there's enough evidence, we will run that review, but they have to ask us. Otherwise, it would be kind of like a favoritism thing going on where CADTH would pick and choose. So the drug companies have to ask us for this. And the drug companies want their drugs on the drug formulary because that allows them to be given to more patients, right? If it's covered by the drug insurance plan of Alberta, then more patients typically tend to get it. And so if a pharmaceutical company wants that, they have to ask us to do that review. We do not make decisions. We simply look at the evidence, appraise it, have experts look at the evidence we've found, and then the experts provide a recommendation, and then the drug plans do what they want with that information. But that being said, even though we're funded by Health Canada, the federal government, the provinces and territories, and we do have this fee for service, we are arm's length from both the government and the agencies that exist. We're completely independent, and we are a nonprofit agency. And I am a CADTH employee. I live in Canmore, Alberta, and I'm here with my family, and it's been a true pleasure to be sequestered away with those that I love the most.
Can I actually interrupt for just a second?
Of course.
I forgot to mention to people, if you have questions, remember that you cannot be heard, right? This is a webinar format. It's different from our support meetings. On the bottom of your screen, if you move your mouse, there's a little row of icons, and one of them, probably in the center, is chat. You can type your question in there. If you're just on the phone, I'm sorry, you're going to be out of luck, but if you could use the chat button, and I will moderate the questions and ask them on your behalf when the time is right to jump in. Okay, thanks, Genevieve.
Great, thanks, Linda. So there's so much research out there, but we only have so much time to synthesize it for those of us who are in the industry, how much less for those who are bombarded with that, which is less credible. These are some of the common terms you'll see researchers commonly say. I was looking for a randomized double-blind controlled trial. There's also things called qualitative studies, a meta-analysis, what I was talking about earlier, the gold standard of health technology assessment. There's also systematic reviews, which we need to inform our health technology assessment. Then there's clinical practice guidelines or non-randomized studies. There's so much out there. So there's so much out there for those of us who are in the research industry. There's so much out there for those who are not in the research industry. So what do we do with what we're bombarded with? And there's evidence to say that 6.7% of only 6.7% of that which comes our way is credible and something that could be used to inform a decision. That's over 90%. That means it's not credible and needs to be thrown out. In healthcare, we must make decisions that are based on what the evidence has to say. And what I love about this is it removes emotion from the table. Evidence does speak, and there are higher qualities of evidence that can inform what we do. And so when we're looking at what is evidence, we're looking at the credibility of sources. We're looking at whether or not there's bias embedded within those studies. We're looking at differing sources, if the right kind of research has been utilized to answer the right kind of question. And then what other information is needed? Not just one study we need. We also need that patient perspective. And I've been a patient in healthcare. I know what it's like. We need to know what the physicians have to say. And then we also need that practical usability. We need that external credibility where we say, oh, great, there is research and now we can do something with it. So the conversation becomes quite complex, and not all kinds of information that come at you are going to tell you the same thing. So this is something I pulled off the website today. This is something that we will frequently see in the news or we'll find on websites, and news we tend to trust, right? This is a catchphrase that says, studies say. This is something that people love to throw into their mix. This is something that grabs attention. People tend to think that means it's proven because of this slide that I've talked about, that talks about all the different kinds of studies that are out there. So you have a news headline that throws this up there and says, studies say. And then this article here actually goes on to talk about how resveratrol, which is found in red wine, will help you to lose weight. But their catch line is drinking red wine might help you to lose weight. But when I took a deeper dive into this, Harvard actually said about their study, there remains zero evidence about any benefit for people who take resveratrol supplements. And you'd have to drink 100 to 1,000 glasses of red wine daily to get an amount equivalent to the doses that improved health in mice. And so right there, just from me taking 3 minutes, I was able to see, you know what, I don't know what these guys are trying to sell to the general population, but this catch line right there that says drinking red, no. Drinking red wine may help you lose weight is flat out a lie. So we really, truly need to scrutinize what we are reading, hearing, and learning. And we have to also scrutinize the sources that we then subject ourselves to. So how do we do that? So I just want to introduce you to one credible piece of information. I know I work for CADTH, but we don't sell anything. And so this is a one-stop shop for all COVID information. And we have highlighted information that we have found, what others have found, what the jurisdictions and provinces and territories have found. And this is a source of reliable health information that you can rely on during the COVID pandemic And then CADTH.ca is another website that you can rely on for all other things. Hang on 1 second, I'm sorry. Sweetheart, I put snacks for you over there. You'll have to ask me later, I'm busy right now, okay? Okay, so here on this website, you can find the latest CADTH reviews of scientific evidence on various COVID-19 topics. These range from prevention, control, screening, and testing to COVID treatments, if there are any that are currently known, as well as any related mental health related topics. Then we have, like I said, trusted pan-Canadian health organizations and international health organizations as well. So if you're in the market for what the latest evidence is in COVID, this is our portal, and I would invite you to go ahead and access it. Everything that we publish is free, full open access on our website, and you can take a look at it at your convenience. So in terms of reliable sources of health information, this is another amazing website that you can take a look at. This is called the Medical Library Association. They provide trustworthy resources for the general public on a variety of health topics. And they have a webpage also devoted to COVID-19 resources, which is shown here. That's my love. Okay. Okay. I put a snack for you on the couch. Please go there and have it, okay? Sorry. Hungry 3-year-olds. Got to give them some attention. So they have a wide range of formats here available as well. They have some videos, they have some fun things, they have some downloadables. This is a US website, so public guidance here is from the CDC and the US government, but they have a rigorous methodology attached to how they allow things to appear onto their website. So they have been pre-certified by Health on the Net. So the Medical Library Association, they assess the websites that they showcase against a predetermined set of criteria to ensure that those websites are credible. So Health on the Net, or HON, is a nonprofit international foundation that was created in the 1990s. When the internet became available, it was shortly discovered, oh, people are going to look for their health information on the website or on the internet. So we need to do something to be able to help people understand what is credible, because why not go look up things for health on a website?
Genevieve,
Mm-hmm.
we have a request that you slow down a little bit. You're talking quite quickly.
Oh, thank you. I do talk fast. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you know what? I do that too when I'm on like this. And then, sorry, someone else was asking if the PowerPoint will be available.
I can make it available.
Okay, thank you.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send that out.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks for that reminder. I was going to say when I started, I do tend to talk quite fast, so please feel free to slow me down. If you know me, I'm a fast person. Before I had my hip replacement, I drove a race car. I mean, I just do everything quickly. It's in my nature. So if I speed up again, you can go ahead and just flag me, slow me down, okay? All right, so Health on the Net. So this is to help assess the credibility of all internet-based information that is available on the web. Oh, go sit down, please. They have a set of criteria that they developed to determine what credibility should look like for specifically health-based information. Their criteria is also what the Medical Library Association looks for. So the HON code, or the Code of Conduct, is a set of criteria that they use and to assess the quality of health websites. They will showcase on their website. The website owners will apply for certification before they are posted. So they host their own search engine, which is shown in the middle search bar there, that allows you to only search for websites that they have certified. Or you can download their web browser extension to whatever web browser you use. So if you use Chrome and you Google HON code extension for Chrome, they have something that you can attach to your browser. So if you're frequently looking for health information, they're going to help you get those credible websites that they have certified based on a certification checklist. So these are just fun things that I want you to know about that exist. So again, we have the Medical Library Association, and then we have the ON code. So why should we evaluate health websites? Well, first and foremost, you need to decide if this is information that you want to trust for you, especially, and if you want to make a decision, you need to know if that decision is credible or if it's based on somebody's idea. And also, when we're sharing information with others, are we sharing something that is going to help or harm them? I was saying to Linda before we started our webinar today that there have been numerous messages that I've received from friends who aren't in the evidence industry, and I understand that, but they are sending me YouTube videos constantly. I'm bombarded with them. They're sending me weird, sporadic links, and the YouTube videos, I frequently respond to them and say, this is not credible. You don't understand. Like, it would be credible if they had done a presentation where they proved what they were saying and then had their links to prove what they were saying attached to it, which we'll get into. But most of these are just opinions with a lot of emotions attached to it, where you feel pulled into it, which I'll get into in a second. And so it gets to be quite, you get to be quite inundated with things that people are sharing with you. And so for me, I will look at something that someone has shared with me, and within, 3 seconds to 3 minutes, I will know if I'm going to throw it out or if I'm going to give it a look. And that's what I hope to leave you with today is, when we're done, how do you know if you're going to give it any more of your attention or if you're going to just throw it away? CADTH had created our own list of criteria based on a systematic search of the best available information on how to evaluate health websites. This is a free tool that we encourage all people to download. It's on our website, and that's the URL there. And you can even go to Google, and this is probably the easiest way. Just type Dr. Google, CADTH, or CADTH, and this will pop up for you. And I can actually send this to Linda. Don't know why I didn't. And you can use this as a checklist for yourself.
We have a quick question, and I can't answer it myself. Is there a separate site for American and worldwide assessment of credibility? As I thought this was just Canadian, but please correct me.
Do you mean like a one-stop shop for international credibility?
Yeah, so you were showing us the American one. Mm-hmm. Is there one that's just Canadian or just everybody?
So this one here that I'm showing you, this is just Canadian.
Okay.
This is a Canadian tool created by CADTH. However, this is something that you can use internationally. So it's based on a systematic search that we conducted looking at all sorts of health websites. So what I'm trying to say is you can use this tool to critically appraise websites from anywhere in the world. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. So the one that I showed you as well from the OnCode and MLA, they will have websites from all over the world, depending on who has asked them to be showcased on their site or used as a credible resource. So those will not simply just be either Canadian or American, could be international. So the criteria featured in this handout, which is evaluating the credibility of health websites. Can you trust Dr. Google? CADTH, we produced this before the pandemic, but it seems to be more pertinent right now. You want to find credible websites, and you want to have a checklist. This tool was created for a broad audience, not necessarily for those who are in academia or research who are trained to think critically and to know what those red flags might be that'll deter you from looking at something. So this document is for all people in all shapes and sizes, wherever your comfort level with evidence may be. I do have a lot of clinicians also who love this tool, and some of them keep it to be able to hand out to patients so that patients who are quite interested in their health and want to look things up will know what they need to look for as they get into it. So we basically have 6 criteria that we use in our CADTH Dr. Google tool. We kind of created this fun little, is it a algorithm. No, not algorithm. What's that word? It's you adopt is what it turns into. Sorry.
Acronym.
I can't remember the acronym. Thank you. I knew it started with an A. So usability, author, date, objectivity, purpose, transparency, you adopt. This is to help you determine if you can trust what you are reading, or if you need to take it with a grain of salt, or even to know if you just need to throw it away straight away. And this criteria spells out you adopt. Hopefully that will give you something to remember as you look in the future to find something that may be able to benefit you. So usability. First of all, when you enter a website, you're just looking at its general organization and design structure. Has it been well organized and designed? Is it easy to use? Not only is it user-friendly, but this will help you to know if it's a little bit more likely to be trustworthy. They put some effort into it, or they hired somebody to do it. And on a well-organized website allows you to assess this next bits of information that I'm going to teach you to look for. So if it seems like it's quite sloppy and there's no real way to make sense of where the website is, you're going to have a hard time critically appraising it. Author. Who wrote the content? Who is this person that is giving you information? All right, so you're going to have to give me some time. Okay, go sit down, please. Not right now. No. So who's giving you this information? Who has authored this? Where are their credentials? Do they have an editorial board that they are responsible to? A red flag is when you cannot tell who the author is, nor can you tell if there is an editorial board responsible for the content. And when we're speaking about healthcare, the more that you are responsible to, the better. Like I said, the evidence pyramid, when it's just based on opinion, is the lowest evidence because everybody has an opinion. So you want to have some kind of check mark here that says this author has credentials, and they also have an editorial board looking at it, which might indicate that it's been peer reviewed. The D in you adopt is date. So is their scientific information accurate? And this is going to also relate to whether or not they have indicated who they are actually referencing. So if they're referencing, can you find their references, and are these references from 1960 or 2010? 2010 is old, right? That's 10 years old. In healthcare, we're looking at the 5-year benchmark. And there just are some things that have been around for a long time, and the evidence is going to be old, and that's okay. But if it's something new, if there's some new drug on the market, new technology, new device, then we're going to need to see something that is quite recent. So an older date may be appropriate, but when it comes to newer things such as cannabis, which will need to be within 2 years, or even COVID, where 5 or 10 days may be out of date, we need to know what the date of their information is. So studies are referenced, what is the year? And hey, Sloan, please don't do that. Stop that. Don't want something broken. And if links are broken, if you can't click on the link, this affects their credibility because this undermines your ability to verify their sources. Objectivity. Are they objective? Is the information fact-based and balanced? And by balanced, you have to determine if the website is telling you the full picture. Are they telling you the benefits of a certain treatment and the side effects? Or if there are other treatments also available? Or are they just simply saying this treatment works for everyone 100% of the time? This is going to work for you. When the website relies on the author's personal experience or other personal testimonies, this is a huge red flag. When what they tell you conflicts with their interest on the website, this means that they're trying to sell you something at the very end of what they've told you. That's a huge red flag. When they imply that the treatment affects everyone the same way and they're not balanced in their approach, you know, they could say something like 2 out of 10 people, 2 out of 4 people, right? That's a little bit more balanced as opposed to this works. The other huge red flag is when there's something emotional, sensational, or even something that they're trying to say like miracle cure or breakthrough. This is a huge red flag because this is a very common promotional tactic where they are trying to pull you in. And when you feel that you're started to be pulled in instead of think this through rationally, that's a huge red flag. And you need to take a step back and reassess the information that you're reading very carefully. I love evidence because it does take emotion out of the picture. I'm a registered nurse, so I love policy because policy makes sure that patients get treated the same way for differing procedures, regardless. There's a set standard of care. You're going to get the highest quality, no matter who you are. And you have to do this as a registered nurse to keep your license. And so I love policy because it takes emotion out. It doesn't matter how you feel about a certain procedure. It doesn't matter how you feel about a certain thing. You're responsible for a standard of care. And I know that maybe sounds silly, but evidence is the exact same. It removes that evidence. It tells us, here's the set thing that we know. It doesn't allow us to be overly emotional. It's okay to be excited about a treatment, but when something is overly emotional and pulling you in a sensational way, that's a red flag. And if I receive something where they're giving me a testimony first and foremost, and they're using any kind of sensational language or trying to stir my emotions, I will X out and I will not allow them to speak to me anymore because I appreciate my mental real estate much more than I appreciate what they're trying to sell me. Purpose. You should be able to tell what the purpose of the information is. Are they trying to sell you something? Then you need to be wary of everything that they tell you, because everything that they tell you is going to be geared towards their product. It doesn't mean everybody who tries to sell you something is bad, but if they present it to you in an objective and non-sensational way, you're probably more apt to be able to trust them and receive what they're trying to tell you. But if they have that sensational language and they're unbalanced, then that's a red flag to really question whether or not they are just overly biased or not. It's okay to have advertisements that show up on websites on the side, but we tend to look to see if those advertisements are directly tied to what the website is trying to teach us or sell us or not. If they seem to be totally different, that's a good indicator that they're just receiving secondary sponsorship for their website probably, and it's not related to their content. So transparency. This is the T for you adopt. You should be able to tell who owns the site. You want to look for a about us or who we are part of the page. And the privacy policy or their terms of use should be able to explain to you what this website is going to do with your information. Most websites are tracking who comes to see them. And so if they're tracking, what are they going to do with this information? Keep this part in the back of your mind as an additional tool to help you to determine if you are willing to trust a website. So that was our CADTH You Adopt checklist that we go through. This is from JAMA, and this is another established yet very simple scoring tool. This benchmark or tool has 4 criteria. You're looking for authorship, you're looking for their name, affiliation, and credentials. You're looking for their attribution. They have studies that are referenced. Their disclosure. You know who owns the website and any conflicts of interest they may have. And you know that they're current. Their content is posted and updated. 4 points, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can choose based on these 4 criteria. And then we also have this. This is another really fun tool. This is a more complex scoring system. This was developed as a patient tool from the National Health Services in the UK. And it's a step-by-step process where you are going to answer all 15 of these questions, and each 15 of them have 5 points assigned to each. And then you're left with an overall score that will help you determine if the score is high enough for you to be able to trust the information that you're reading. And also on this website is a guidance and instruction document to help anybody who wants to utilize this tool know how to use it. So you can go ahead and check them out at your leisure if you see fit. I would like to also draw your attention to this CADTH COVID-19 patient tool that my team and I created. This explains the risk of using, so this basically is what are the treatments that are known about COVID-19 right now. And, you know, spoiler alert, there aren't any true treatments that are known, but this helps to explain what some of the benefits and risks are of some of the treatments that are being utilized. And as we get more information, of course, we'll be updating this tool as time goes on. And of course, I'm highlighting this because we're still in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and this might be of interest to you. And so to conclude, we tend to look at what we read about in health at face value, but what we want to do is take a look at what we're reading with that critical lens, where we have some criteria that tells us whether or not we want to actually listen to what somebody's saying to us. So that might mean you want to utilize the JAMA 4-score principle. It might mean you want to get to know what was given to us by the National Health Institute. It might mean you only want to trust websites from the MLA or ONCODE, or it might mean you want to take the Google checklist with you to take a look at the usability, the author, the date, the objectivity, the purpose, and the transparency of each website. And then we can share with others when we go through the tool to learn. And I would encourage that as a homework almost, you know, or as like a way to learn for yourself what credible evidence looks like. And if you take a look at the CADTH website, there is a date on absolutely everything. There are authors on everything. It is updated constantly. And anybody can contact CADTH and say, your sentence here was misleading, and we will take a look at it and say, oh, you're absolutely right, or things like that. That's the peer review process. So at any point in time, CADTH is available open access. Please feel free to connect with us via Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. We also have an email request at CADTH. Our primary customers are those who are publicly funded. So if you work for Alberta Health Services or the Government of Health, we will undertake a research request for you. We also have a patient advocacy group, and we also recruit patients for every health technology assessment that we do. So if this might interest you, you might want to check out our website so that you could be one of those patients who helps us advise whether or not something is credible for one of the drug plans or otherwise. And I mean, that comes and goes depending on what kinds of things we're looking at, because we don't arbitrarily just get to choose a lot of the research items that we look at. We need to have some people request it of us. That makes sense. And other than that, we also have a website subscription where you get things to feed your inner nerd. You can also see things that have gone through the Common Drug Review, so you know what new drugs have been placed on the market that we've reviewed. And apart from that, I see that there's quite a few comments in the box, and I'll be happy to take your questions, and I hope I can answer.
Yeah, I wanted to say I've signed up, I've subscribed for the CADTH, and they have a lot of the back webinars and information on there too. So if you're interested in a topic, you can go back and look at stuff. Oh my gosh, okay. So the questions we got to, let's see. Yeah, so Ron was saying that a lot of people do try and collect your personal information. And yes, that's very true. So quite often there'll be something that you can get for free, download this for free. And in order to do that, they want your email address. So if I'm interested in stuff like that, what I will sometimes do is sign up, get what they were offering for free, and then go to the first email that they send me and unsubscribe, because believe me, I get enough spam as it is, especially if I didn't like the thing that I downloaded. I will do that. And Ron was also saying somewhere in here that they also have started asking for phone numbers and stuff like that. Give them the minimum information, I would say, that you can. And if they start, I've done this before, I've gotten partway through a form, and if they start asking me for too much information, that's a red flag for me. And I just decide I don't really need it that bad.
Mm-hmm. So can I just ask the audience, does that make sense, the criteria that I've offered as a go-to or a place to start? Perhaps you're already doing it and so you know this, or perhaps even the Google checklist is something you can share with friends or loved ones who tend to give you those, you know, wonderful YouTube videos that try to claim something is happening or real, or, you know, the whole anti-vax campaign right now is really hot and bothered about this. And I'm getting a lot of videos that speak about something weird about them. But I just thought maybe, okay, absolutely. Thanks, Louise. There's one question here. Are there specific media outlets, reporters, columnists known by CADTH to produce well-researched articles which use our credibility criteria? Well, we have those people listed on our CADTH COVID website. So the Public Health Agency of Canada, they're very credible. And I mean, they're scrutinized heavily, but they just can't claim something false because every physician would see it and come at them. I'm not sure of reporters or columnists who use anything credible. I wish that there were. Maybe there are. I don't know. But in terms of secondary high-quality health websites, if you go to the CADTH COVID website, we have a list of credible sites that we offer as those sources which use criteria similar to our methodology, or even their own methodology, which would be just as rigorous. Well, thank you.
Definitely, yeah. That said, I want to make a comment on the CNA website. We don't have any advertising on there. We don't sell anything on there. We try to be as balanced as possible. One thing we lack in is the review, the board review, editorial board review. We barely have people to write stuff, so we unfortunately we don't have that, and I don't know that we have a way to do that. But yeah, I always ask the writers to be very careful about their sources, and I'm going to actually use the information in this presentation to update my guide to them to make it even clearer that the sources, we want to follow everything that these folks are doing, except maybe the editorial board, because I don't know how we could do that, but that's really good information for us. Pardon me?
Yeah, sometimes you just can't. You're just not set up for that, right? That makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is safe to assume all government websites are accurate. Yes, and they have to update it, and they are responsible to the general public. So they will be inundated with complaints. Should there be anything false, or should there be anything old?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to read this out in case we have people on the phone. From Stella, I'm a biologist. Some of my work involves risk communications with respect to human health issues. I've learned that we need to recognize the role of values and how those values produce a filter when reading or listening to evidence. One of the things I've learned is that it doesn't seem to matter how good the science is if people don't believe it. Have you had similar experiences?
Oh boy, that's a long conversation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know, there are just some people who are emotional about a topic, and it doesn't matter what the facts are, they can be convinced. Those are not people to target. You know, those are not low-lying fruit. Those are people to just say, be blessed, I wish you well, in your opinion, and just move on, because not everybody is like that. Cannabis is one of those things. You know, it doesn't matter what the truth is about it. People are emotional about it. They want it, and they're going to use it. And it's, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to come to the reality that we know right now more harm than benefit about it. There's very few benefits that we know, but those benefits that we know, we are utilizing to the best that we can. But you'll run into many people who, it doesn't matter if you tell them that there's harm associated with it. They're for it. They're going to use it for, I mean, maybe they have toe jam, you know what I mean? Like, goodness, wash your toes. So there's a lot about that. And Timothy Caulfield spoke on this, and he just said, you know, just wish those people all the best and move on to those who are willing to listen to something credible.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I'm talking about. No.
Louise, does your organization respond with counter arguments to QA non-type conspiracy theory posts on social media? Yeah,
No.
I think you guys don't
There's no
really
point.
respond to anybody on anything like that. It's,
Yeah. There's no point. That, like I said, that's the beauty of evidence. It takes out the emotion. You know, some of the things that we say aren't very favored sometimes. So we had something that we posted when we were looking at, for example, community water fluoridation. Not a fan favorite in Calgary, but we found that the evidence truly said water fluoridation saves people from dental caries, especially those who are at high risk. And no, it doesn't poison the earth, and no, it doesn't poison us. And no, it's not just a byproduct of tin mining, because in Canada, we're past that industrialization period where it's controlled and we know it's going into the soil. So we don't respond to stuff like that where we just get people lobbying and lobbying and lobbying, even if the evidence is clear. I'm not sure if that's an even good example, but that's the first one that came to my mind. Of course, I live in Canberra and everybody's against community water fluoridation, but I really wish I could have my 1 glass of fluoridated water a day.
Sam, yes, the presentation is being recorded, and Genevieve has said she'll supply the PowerPoint if she's able.
Yeah, I just need to double check on that for you, but it should be okay.
Yeah.
But like I said, this Google tool that I've used is available free for all on our website, as well as all of our information. So please feel free to check that out.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Thank you.